Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of January 18th, 2026. I am delighted to join astrologer Kathy Biehl on her Celestial Compass show tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. There are links in the show notes. We're going to be talking about the astrology of current events, politics, culture. We'll see where the conversation goes. I hope you'll join me there. The theme of this week is the gray zone, and there are three big things I'd like you to think about as you navigate this week. The first thing I want to make you aware of is that we have a new moon at 28 degrees of Capricorn today. When we're close to the final degree of any sign, we start to see decay. All the energy of the sign is trying to express each part of it before changing signs. This is where the shadow at that sign gets really loud. So whatever has been held together with Capricornian energy, discipline, authority, appearances of success, like keeping up with the Joneses and wanting to have a legacy. We know Capricorn's about governments, big business, institutions, elders, and structures. But in its shadow, it's also about excess, abuse of power, secrecy, and moral rot. It feels very Bacchanalian, like Caligula, the emperor, was very Capricornian in the shadow side. There's indulgence, parties behind closed doors, and people at the top behaving in ways they never thought they'd be seen and that are horrifying to others. The president keeps doing everything he can to keep the Epstein files off of the headlines, but I think he's going to be running out of luck with that shortly. So with this new moon in late degrees, each sign has 28 degrees, so we're right next to the last degree of the sign. We're not seeing Capricorn at its best. We're seeing what's breaking down or has been overextended or can no longer be controlled. One of the things that most interests me about this new moon and how it's going to show up is that it's at 28 degrees, which is the degree of Mars's exaltation. So Mars, the planet of power, drive, action, loves to be in this sign. It's lifted up. It has a special seat at the table. When I see people with Mars and Capricorn in their chart, I get jealous because they have the ability to set a plan and delay gratification, just keep things going with the eyes on the prize. Now, not every Mars and Capricorn, but if it's in good condition, that's Mars and Capricorn at its highest level. But Mars is always going to be Mars, and there's themes of severing and separation and conflict and aggression. And at this new moon, Mercury and Mars have just had a conjunction at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So we have this real concentration of Capricorn energy at the late degrees of the sign with the sun and the moon, Mercury and Mars. And with Mercury separating from Mars, something likely big happened yesterday on Saturday that has the signature of Mercury, Mars, and Capricorn. Sharp words, aggressive action, hostile decisions made by a government or a corporation in the U.S. If you set the chart to Washington, D.C., this new moon falls in the 8th house. So under the next 4 weeks, there's going to be themes coming up around debt, taxes, shared resources, death, financial entanglements. It's also conjunct the Pluto of the U.S. chart, which is at 27 Capricorn in the second house. So the second and eighth house have to do with resources, power, and pleasure. We're going to be watching power plays around money, resources, and control. Decisions may now have a ripple effect throughout the economy. For ourselves, this is a great time to figure out what's not working anymore in what you're doing or how you're approaching your goals, and think about what can you let go of. And soon after, the sun will move in Aquarius. So maybe there's something that you're doing in a outdated way, and maybe newer technology can help you innovate and do things better. The most supportive aspect in this new moon is Saturn in Pisces in a sextile with Uranus in Taurus. These are yin signs where we can make our own magic, and sextiles are cooperative and opportunistic. Now, this is a classic Jenga tower energy. The structure looks from the outside like it's sturdy, but with Pisces, there's some kind of weakness in it. And Uranus gives you the opportunity to collapse outdated structures and build something new. On the global stage, this is very relevant to what is happening in Iran. There is intense pressure from the people being put on the authorities, and Saturn is on the Mars-Mercury conjunction of Iran's natal chart. We can really see the instability of the regime. I think the pressure the U.S. may be putting on the regime with our Pluto being activated could be like the last little shove that brings big change to the country. My hope is that this will bring a better, more equitable society for the people there, especially the women. Also interesting at this new moon, the Australian Open starts under this Mercury, Mars, and Capricorn conjunction. This feels like a really exciting competition that's fierce. There's relentless pacing, very physical play, but we may see the tennis players having verbal conflicts or intense rivalries, people losing their temper on the court. Venus in Aquarius is moving to conjunct Pluto, and astrology really is a language. I wonder if Venus Williams will make big headlines about how she's transformed herself, or being the oldest player with Capricorn rules the elderly. She's one of the oldest players to ever compete at this level in this tournament. So if you're watching that or paying attention, think about the astrology words. This is a really intense new moon because there are so many planets talking to each other. The takeaway of this new moon is the opportunity for huge, decisive change. We're going to be seeing big moves on the world stage, and the shadow energies are going to be coming out. What has been excessive, corrupt, or unsustainable will no longer be able to stay contained. There can be imagery of an avalanche coming after a big decision. When a barrier breaks, power shifts, and the truth forces its way out into the surface. And you may be seeing this literally with people at some point celebrating if they're able to overthrow their leader in Iran. For yourself, what is no longer sustainable in your life? Do you need to delegate some things? Do you need to bring in technology? Are you taking on too much duty and responsibility? Are there any ways to lighten your load. This is really 10 of Wands kind of imagery, which is a card of exhaustion. Capricorn rules the knees and the bones. Something happens where you feel creaky and you decide, I need to do some strengthening of my bones so that I can whatever. And you decide to start adding weights to your workout. Could be the change you decide for the Capricorn new moon. Regarding the moon phase family of this cycle, so the new moon at 28 degrees of Capricorn is today, January 18th, 2026. What intentions are you going to set about Capricornian themes, keeping in mind that we're at the end of the sign and you may be needing to release or let go of some things? The first quarter moon is 9 months from now, where the sun is in Libra and the moon is in Capricorn, October 18th of 2026, both at 25 degrees. There may be adjustments needed from what you start now in order to keep it going. If you take on an exercise routine to build your bones and strength, which is very Capricornian with Mercury and Mars in the sign, you will notice big changes by October if you keep to it. The full moon of this cycle, 9 months after that, where the sun is in Cancer and the moon is in Capricorn, both at 25 degrees, July 18th, 2027. There'll be full illumination at this time. And Cancer is a sign of the family. So if you're doing some big workouts, you may be thinking about how your strength at this age relates to how your parents were at this age. The last quarter moon of this cycle, where lessons are learned, will be the sun in Aries and the moon in Capricorn on April 16th, 2028, both at 27 degrees. Maybe you decide you're going to be in some kind of weightlifting competition at that time. Aries is associated with competition. These 27-month cycles allow you to set goals and keep pace on those bigger things you're trying to achieve over 27 months. I love the Wise Skies digital astrology calendar. It puts the astrology right in the palm of your hand. Planetary transits, moon phases, and retrogrades, so you can plan with the cosmos, not against them. I use it to choose the best times for vacations, work projects, launches, and rest days. You'll get clear daily guidance and some links to deeper resources so that you always know what's happening and how to work with it. My collaborator and friend Tiffany Herlick adds more to it each year. Grab the 2026 digital astrology calendar with my coupon code ABC2026 for a $10 discount. The link is in the show notes. The next thing I want to make you aware of is Aquarius season will start on Monday, January 19th through February 18th. It begins immediately after this big Capricorn new moon. So there's something significant about the timing. We move where the focus, where the sun focuses us in on Capricorn themes like governments, authority, and institutions. And then we move into Aquarius, and this rules the people, large groups, collective movements. So we're seeing some kind of handoff between Capricorn and Aquarius. Capricorn is traditional and hierarchical, and Aquarius has themes where people are more in an equitable situation. Capitalism is very Capricornian. Socialism is more Aquarian. Capricorn has associations with tradition and just the way things done, also a bit of the past. Aquarius, the future. So there may be some big news based on governments or business decisions And now we see a response by large groups of people. So you could go into work, the CEO could make an announcement that impacts the whole company, and people are talking about it, where some kind of structure or authority figure is gone. Or maybe you go into work and the CEO is not the CEO anymore. That would be in line with this energy. As soon as the sun enters the sign of Aquarius, it begins applying to Pluto. And Venus is also applying to Pluto. And Pluto brings things up to the surface. There's themes of exposure, elimination, pressure, power struggles. And this Aquarius season is going to be very loud. Aquarius governs groups, organizations, technology, communication networks, science, and the future. There are also themes about space, aviation, astronauts. It's connected to our hopes and our dreams and our ideals. Aquarius is a fixed air sign, so it can be about thought processes that are hard to shake or change. There's also themes of rebellion and disruption. So I get that theme of the Iranian government potentially collapsing. This Aquarius season is different because we are in eclipse season. There's going to be a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees on February 17th. So events that are happening now are related to this eclipse. You can see eclipses coming in 6 weeks before. And at the full moon in Capricorn, the United States went in and grabbed Maduro from Venezuela, taking over oil and some of their resources. And the president has threatened Cuba that we may do some kind of embargo on Cuba and cut off their oil and other resources. I hope this is not what this is going to be, but it does fit the imagery of the new moon. There have been things where the Cuban government was told to submit to X, Y, and Z. We are also threatening Greenland. Last week, I talked about how Eris was stationing direct and that there could be discord that came to the surface. Eris is the goddess of discord, strife, and chaos. And the military, the Joint Chiefs, the higher people in the military are pushing back against the Trump administration about the request to draw up plans to invade Greenland. So we're seeing conflicts rising. We're seeing authority and rebellion, like Saturn and Pisces. Give me the plans to invade Greenland, which we have international agreements with, and Uranus in Taurus. The military saying this could potentially be illegal, as well as it goes against X, Y, and Z, our organization. So this is Saturn sextile Uranus, and then Saturn's going to meet Neptune. So we're seeing all these themes of collapse, conflict, revolts, and revolutions. So the events that are unfolding now are part of a larger 6-month cycle, because eclipses open a new 6-month cycle around power dynamics, with Pluto being in the mix, freedom, and collective consequences and rewards. A big theme, because we had a Capricorn new moon yesterday, is state power versus freedom of movement for people. Aquarius has associations with autonomy and freedom. Pluto, force and control. And that Sun and Venus coming to meet Pluto feels like energy about potentially containment. There could be restrictions, enforcement actions, intensified attempts to control large populations. Last week in Minnesota, a woman was killed as she was trying to drive away from ICE. It was very disturbing. I think it's a seminal event that people are going to be animated to continue to protest and call out what happened. Saturn and Uranus are the rulers of Aquarius. Saturn, the traditional ruler, Uranus, the modern ruler. They're in a sextile, which perfects on the day the sun enters Aquarius. Jeffrey Epstein was a Capricorn rising in an Aquarius sun at 0 degrees Aquarius. Saturn restricts and Uranus disrupts. Pisces rules deception and it dissolves, and Taurus rules resources, physical pleasure. So things could come up to the surface about the Epstein scandal, where we're seeing more about what was going on then. This is also symbolism for resources being severed. And as I mentioned, this energy of this sextile also has a Jenga tower energy, where one piece gets removed and the entire structure is unstable. And what looked solid could collapse really quickly. Venus applying to Pluto adds another layer. On the day the sun enters Aquarius, Venus is applying to Pluto. Venus rules money, values, relationships, art, and recreation. Pluto exposes what's been hidden. So this can correlate with upheaval around public figures, funding, cultural spaces, or revelations around values and power. Beyonce is someone who may be coming up in the news at this time. She is a 29-degree Aries rising, so the new moon in Capricorn squares her ascendant. She has Venus and Pluto conjunct in her chart. People with a strong Aquarius energy are trying to make things better based upon their ideals. I really like this energy for getting together, organizing. There are going to be more and more people deciding to run for public office, getting involved and going to their local meetings. I think we're just going to see people rising up more and more against oppression and coming in the streets. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Mars will enter Aquarius Friday, January 23rd through March 2nd. Mars is the planet of action, drive, assertion, and conflict. When it goes through Aquarius, it becomes collective action about groups, movements, technology, and ideology. People aren't just acting for themselves, they're acting for a cause. There may be new causes bursting up based on what happens right before the new moon, and something seeded that a government or a business does. People start coming together and then they start taking action about. Mars in Aquarius can bring protest, rebellion, but it also can bring innovation, strategy, and breakthroughs. This can be new apps or new things launched. You may be hearing a lot about thinkers, engineers, organizers, or anyone really associated with the future. This is going to be intense because Mars is moving towards Pluto in Aquarius. Something is really building. Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. This is the energy of conflict. Really intense action is coming up, and it could be a geopolitical conflict, power struggles within societies, movements, or institutions. The most positive expressions of this transit could be major technological advancements around robotics, AI, medical or surgical technology. Mars rules cutting tools. It could also be, we see weapons that are new. Strategic games or competitions that require deep thinking are great things to be doing. Maybe you want to host game nights where you play chess, strategy games, or come together for collective problem solving. What difference do you want to make in the collective? How can you make that difference? How do you want to apply your energy for something bigger than yourself? Maybe you want to get involved with a humanitarian organization. activism, organizing, speaking out about fairness, freedom, and the future. There could be a big announcement about who's running for office when Mars enters Aquarius. Notice what you're seeing as Mars moves from the 29th degree of Capricorn to 0 Aquarius. There is such an amplification of conflict between countries, systems, and ideology, in large part because the Trump administration is trying to remake America, remake the world, and there is pushback internally within the country and externally. NATO has talked about if the United States goes in militarily to Greenland, they will be pushing back. I'm suggesting with all this Aquarius energy to keep your devices charged. Have a basic plan if the power goes out. There's no need to panic. Just be prepared. Preparedness is not fear, and astrology gives us the gift of understanding. This episode is called The Gray Zone, and the themes always show up in some way. Last week was divide and conquer, and in Los Angeles, people were having a peaceful protest about Iran, trying to bring the revolution there to more people's attention. Someone in a U-Haul truck drove through the crowd, and thankfully, I don't think anyone lost their life, but people were injured. The gray zone is this week's theme. With gray zones, there's no clear right or wrong, good or bad, yes or no. This is a territory of nuance, mixed motives, and incomplete information. For example, a whistleblower is breaking a rule to expose harm. They're doing something that's legally wrong and can be held accountable for it, but morally defensible, depending on who morals are in focus. This also refers to actions taken below the threshold of open war, but beyond normal diplomacy. These actions are often designed to avoid triggering a full military response. Some gray zone actions are like cyber attacks, economic pressure or sanctions, disinformation campaigns, covert operations, legal maneuvers that exploit loopholes. There's also a movie called The Gray Zone, Grey Zone. It's set in Auschwitz during World War II, and Jewish prisoners are forced to assist in the machinery of the death camp, aiding their oppressors in order to survive a little longer. It's about impossible choices where victimhood and complicity blur. One of my greatest joys is helping people understand themselves more fully. If you're wanting to make sense of your past, recognize the patterns that have shaped you, or get clearer about the path ahead, astrology can offer real insight. In our sessions, we'll use your natal chart as a map. You don't need to know any astrology at all. You can book a single session for clarity or choose a cosmic coaching package if you'd like ongoing support as you grow and plan for the future. Book your sessions at astrologybyceleste.com on the services page. On Sunday, the word of the day is exaltation. The Capricorn moon squares Chiron, the wounded healer, in Aries at 22.5 degrees. There's themes of exile and injury. There's talk about the head of Iran maybe is looking at an escape route to Russia. The moon meets Mars, then Mercury at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So people are fired up, ready to go, or in conflict. And then there's a Saturn sextile Uranus that is also being activated. This new moon lands with big news. It's at 28 degrees of Capricorn at 11:52 a.m. Pacific time. there's the opportunity for elevated strength, authority, and impact. You can be planning to make your next moves. If you're in a role and you're like, I have done everything I can in this role, it's time for me to be elevated up. It's time for me to be exalted to the next level. This is a great new moon to put your plans in place. Notice if you see someone elevated, praised, or raised higher. This really feels to me like a king me kind of situation where a crown is put on someone's head. I was thinking Beyonce at this time because this new moon is in her 10th house of her career and it's squaring her ascendant and descendant. We'll see if she makes news. The Aquarius moon begins at 2:17 p.m. Pacific time. This is a big shift. The moon, which rules the people, moves from its detriment out of it into Aquarius. Some people are going to get in a better situation than they were before, or just mentally move from a place where they're feeling maybe depressed or cautious into more future focus or feeling like there's a sense of togetherness with a group. And the moon meets Venus. There's also this opportunity to make serious decisions. Mercury and Capricorn is sextile Saturn and Pisces, both at 27 degrees. So you may be hearing about limitations or someone getting some kind of prize, like lifetime achievement. I'm getting like Beyonce or someone like that, a lifetime achievement kind of award. And Mercury and Capricorn trines Uranus at 27 degrees. So maybe it's a surprise. It'll be really interesting to see how this shows up. On Monday, the word of the day is Tower. The transits are bonkers. There's so much happening on this day. The sun in Capricorn is sextile Neptune and Pisces at 29 degrees of each of the signs. And those two planets are making a connection with the president's chart. He has a 29 Leo ascendant. So this is forming a finger of God to his chart. And is he, as the president, going to take some kind of action of the nature of this energy? Now, Venus will meet Pluto on this day, which could be resources cutting off. And then Aquarius season begins at 5:44 p.m. Pacific time. And with Venus and Pluto connecting at 3 degrees of Aquarius, there could be resources that impact a lot of people. And this is the day Saturn and Pisces sextiles Uranus and Taurus, both at 27 degrees. This is themes of limitations on resources or them being cut off completely. Now, this is also imagery of an elderly person, Capricorn, getting weak, collapsing, and a group of people come rushing over to try to help them. Or there could be themes of a structure coming down or being demolished. Mars in Capricorn is trine Uranus. This can be like kaboom, we're blowing up some kind of structure. It can be very exciting, but really be mindful to be safe. Now, the Australian Open, their games are going to be incredibly intense at this time. The competition with Mars, trine Uranus can be so exciting. Now, Mars in Capricorn is also sextile Saturn in Pisces, so determined actions lead to results. This can be where someone makes the most amazing breakthrough and gets something achieved that, again, I get this lifetime achievement. I kept saying Beyonce, but maybe this is about Venus Williams in that tournament. On Tuesday, the word of the day is remembrance. Mercury in Capricorn is sextile Neptune and Pisces, both at 29 degrees. So there can be discussion about something that's in the past or a person is the imagery I've gotten. Mercury enters Aquarius from January 20th to February 6th. Mercury rules communication, thought processes, and Aquarius is a sign of the collective. There could be announcements about infrastructure projects somewhere in the world that will make things better for large groups of people. The Aquarius moon is conjunct the moon of the United States at 27 Aquarius, square Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So a remembrance of a time past or a person whose past can be coming up. And the moon enters Pisces at 10:49 p.m. Pacific time. If someone says something and you don't quite understand it, ask for clarity. This could be garbled talk. On Wednesday, the word of the day is update. Mercury is cazimi at 1 degrees of Aquarius. So Mercury meets the sun at 7:48 a.m. This is called cazimi, which is sitting at the foot of the king, and you can ask for a favor, and it's more likely to be granted. So maybe you ask your boss or make a decision to purchase some new software, Aquarius, that can help your work. There is death and rebirth symbolism. This gives me the imagery of a software update where you update it and it goes down for a bit and then it comes back. The moon meets the north node at 9 degrees of Pisces. This can be people feeling, a large group of people can be feeling very emotional about something, or they could be becoming aware of some kind of deception. On Thursday, the word of the day is surveillance. There's a waxing crescent moon at 17 Pisces at 7:05 a.m. Pacific time. The waxing crescent moon is when you start to see the light. Pisces rules illusions and deception. Mercury and Pluto are conjunct on this day at 3 degrees of Aquarius. And Mars and Capricorn is sextile Neptune and Pisces at 29 degrees of each of the signs. The image of it comes to people's attention that there's some new software on their phones that's doing some kind of government surveillance, like TikTok. I believe it should be purchased by now. And if so, there's going to be a news app that people have to put on their phones. This makes all the sense with the flow of the astrology. TikTok is purchased and it needs to go to a new app. People upload it and there's a lot of talk about it. People may be very frustrated or surveilled. On Friday, the word of the day is elimination. Mars enters Aquarius, and people could be mad about this new technology or new app. And the moon in Pisces meets Saturn at 27 degrees. There could be people deleting the app because they're mad about how it's so different. This might not be the story, but it may have some kind of relationship to the story. The sun meets Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius, and there is a spotlight on technology and control. The bowels also are Plutonic. There's themes of the underworld being understood. And the administration in the U.S. began on a day that the sun met Pluto. So now it's having solar return to this administration, and we're going to be seeing new things about how they're going to use their power to control the populace. The moon and Neptune meet at 29 degrees of Pisces, and people may be feeling a real sense of loss. Then the moon moves into Aries at 5:25 a.m. Pacific time. So people can be ready for a new start, interested in pioneering, taking on new things, new activities, fired up about things, angry. Great time to move your body. On Saturday, the word of the day is raw. The Aries moon is squaring Jupiter and Cancer, both at 18 degrees. So people can be emotionally tender about something or a bit upset. If TikTok is really different, people may be mad. Venus in Aquarius, which that's TikTok is an app people like, is quincunx the South Node at 10 degrees of Virgo. People may be critical about how things have changed or critical about a Venus in Aquarius type thing. And they're going to make their anger known with the moon conjunct Chiron at 22.5 degrees. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology in action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.